the media. It's the media that causes it because they keep going on and on about this, and people get in their minds that that's what happens at these concerts. It's like, we're out here trying to make a good point by this tour. We're trying to give a positive message to kids and to people to prove that we're not these psychopaths that they talk about, that we're, you know, good kids or whatever, but it's like they keep talking about this violence, and then it's going to get into people's minds.
Well, let's talk about that. Tell me about what your show is about this time. What are you doing?
It's Together Forever tour, you know. Beastie Boys, Run DMC, a black group and a white group, and we're going out, and if we can get along, anybody can. And it's white kids and black kids who, you know, otherwise maybe were scared to get together, their parents don't want to get together every night, have a good time.
And it said that was the amazing thing in the audience.
Some brief news notes. The Beastie Boys will make a pro-choice statement on Monday when their tour plays New Orleans, Louisiana. All proceeds of the show will go to Louisiana Choice, an affiliate of the National Abortion Rights League. The money will help NARAL inform voters of candidates' records and stands on abortion.
Well, to me, like when we were asked to get involved, that was kind of one of my biggest concerns, is that, as far as I know, teenage girls is the highest growing statistic of people who are coming down with AIDS, and it's just like, you know, there's, especially in terms of like girls becoming empowered and becoming sure of themselves and taking a step to, you know, become involved and know what's going on, protecting themselves, you know, if we could help with that, that was kind of cool.
Well, I think one of the main things to realize about it is not to bring fear into it, and to just bring awareness into it. Bring awareness into just learn more about it and learn more about it and respect people who have it and just respect yourself and stuff. But I don't think it's a wise idea to be bringing fear into it.
I got one last set of questions for you. I'm wondering a piece about role models, and when you're in a position to be its spokespeople, how willingly do you take on the role of role model?
I think we kind of just make it up as we go along. You know, can't really plan too far ahead.
I mean, I always have like mixed emotions about it, because people confront me about their agendas and what we're doing, but you know, bottom line is, you know, all we can do is act in a manner that we think, you know, is an appropriate way to act, and let people know what that involves, and, you know, just put that out there.
And in building this business, how important was the social stand, being socially responsible, as far as the philosophy, both business, professional, and as a performing artist in the Beastie Boys? Your philosophy?
Oh, you mean
being socially responsible, which, Adam, I guess actually started with your feelings about a social...
No, I wouldn't say that. I think it really is something that comes from all of us. I mean, maybe I think we kind of get pigeonholed into like representing different parts of what we do, but I think all of us feel pretty strongly that that it's important to be responsible for all your actions, especially in business. And I think there's this real concept in business that a person has to be that if a person is working with certain moral values, that's going to inhibit their business, and they won't be able to do as well, or won't be able to make as much money, whatever. And I think that's a real sad view, because what we do really affects this world, especially in business. And some of the labor conditions in China are so insane, and the human rights abuses there are so tragic that are going on, and there's just a huge number of U.S. businesses that are over there just trying to make as much money as they can.
So basically then what the two of you are saying, and the group as a whole is saying, is that with regard to the issue of Tibet, that is a philosophy that you feel that with your business success, you as individual artists can support freeing Tibet, and also have those who enjoy your music and what you do to join in this cause?
Well, it's both, I think, with our businesses and with the voice that we've been afforded as a group. We're maybe able to bring change, because the only way that change is going to come to Tibet, because they're a fundamentally nonviolent culture, because of where they're coming from, is by us as Westerners and us as people empower somewhat, because we have businesses or whatever, actually using our voice and our means affecting change.
A lot of people would say that Generation X, the label that I told you as we came into break, is not one that I necessarily like, and it's not one that Generation X necessarily likes, but you're kind of stuck with it, as many other generations are. But Gen X, for lack of a better term, is tending to be more socially responsible in a global sense. Is that part of your philosophy as well? I mean, some people might say, why are you worrying about those concerns there when there are so many things here at home to be concerned about? How did this particular issue come to your attention and to your business?
Well, the Tibet issue is really important, mainly, I think, because it's nonviolent, and so their struggle represents really a direction that I feel that humanity needs to be moving towards for our own survival. So, in that sense, I think it's really important.
The Beastie Boys' Adam Yauch gathered them to New York for the second Free Tibet show, an appeal for worldwide support.
Adam is one of the founders of the Milarepa Fund. He's also on the board of directors, so he is pretty integral to everything that we do.
I guess the point of the concert is really to put forward the Tibet issue and to raise awareness about the Tibet issue. The reason that we've chosen to focus on that issue specifically is because it embodies all these principles of nonviolence, and the whole Tibet struggle for freedom is based on nonviolence.
Let's not forget that the reason that this concert is going on is to help the people of Tibet get their freedom. So after this is over, if everybody could make an effort to do whatever they can to make sure that that happens, that would be well appreciated.
SonicNet's Free Tibet website even offers an incentive for people who find the effort of participation too tiring.
But it also allows people to instantaneously become activists. You know, they have a letter right there to President Clinton, and on the spur of the moment, they can just, type in their name, hit a button, and it's off.
When it comes to freedom in the rest of the world, we basically ignore it. Our corporations are trading with China, basically just taking advantage of the situation over there rather than actually helping to promote change.
It's kind of a rare opportunity that one gets to speak to this many people at once. So if you guys will forgive me, I just wanted to speak my mind on a couple things. And I think it was a real mistake that the U.S. chose to fire missiles into the Middle East. I think that was a huge mistake. And I think that it's very important that the United States start to look towards nonviolent means of resolving conflicts. Because if we... Hold on, give me 1 second here. Because if we... Those bombings that took place in the Middle East were thought of as a retaliation by the terrorists. And if we thought of what we did as retaliation, certainly we're going to find more retaliation from people in the Middle East, from terrorists specifically, I should say, because most Middle Eastern people are not terrorists. And I think that's another thing that America really needs to think about, is our racism that comes from the United States towards Muslim people and towards Arabic people. And that's something that has to stop. And the United States has to start respecting people from the Middle East in order to find a solution to the problem that's been building up over many years. So I thank everyone for your patience and letting me speak my mind on that.
I think the main reasons that we want to be involved is just in general opposition to the death penalty. I think the death penalty is really not a solution to anything. I think that if we all agree that killing somebody is not a good thing, then killing another person is certainly not a solution to that problem. We're not like trying to raise up some anti-police type vibe or something like that. We're trying to see police as human beings and the people who are at the concert as human beings and realize that we're all, hanging out here together. It's not a... So I think, yeah, in a sense, that's part of what needs to be made clear at this concert, is that this isn't trying to, like, stir up some real anti-cop type energy. The cops have a job to do.
Now more than ever is a perfect time to draw attention to the Tibetan cause, according to event organizer Adam Yauch, who sees the recent Columbine tragedy as an unlikely invitation to ignite further dialogue.
Since the tragedy that happened
Littleton, Colorado. People from the U.S. government were contemplating how to prevent that from happening in the future, and how we could possibly show our young people that that nonviolence is the way that things should be approached, or that their problems should be solved through dialogue and not through violence. And people from the U.S. government could certainly be doing is be supportive of a nonviolent movement like the Tibetan movement.
Hello. Okay, can everybody hear? You can hear? You can all hear? Okay, I'd like to thank MTV. Okay, check it out. I'd like to thank MTV for giving us the opportunity to be in a room with all these musicians that are here tonight. Especially for giving us the microphone, because there's something I really want to talk about tonight while I have the time. I read in the news and heard from my friends all about the sexual assaults and the rapes that went down at Woodstock '99. It made me feel really sad and angry. Okay? Are you all there? Okay. You all remember that? Woodstock? What happened? Well, I was thinking, why should I just feel mad about it and not do anything about it? And I think we can do something about it. As musicians. Now, I'm talking to all the musicians here. Thank you, Johnny Boss. All the musicians here. I think we can talk to the promoters and make sure that they're doing something about the safety of all the girls and the women that come to our shows. I think we can talk and work with the security people to make sure they know and understand about sexual harassment and rape, and they know how to handle these situations. You know what I'm saying? Respectfully. Anyways, I want to dedicate this award to everybody out there that's down to make change happen. Thanks.
But I remember, see, I'm from, I guess, your generation. I'm in my 30s. And I remember...
30-something.
30, but I remember from, you know, the Run DMC and going to hearing your first album.
License to Ill.
License to Ill.
Yes.
And you guys were wild, and you guys used to really, you know, really perform and talk about, you know, scream about these wild things. It seems like you've mellowed out a whole lot. So has there been a progression in your albums and what you rap about in your albums from back in the 80s to now?
Yeah, like, you know, if you live your life, and like I was, you know, I guess you could say I was kind of wild, you know, when I was at City As, and if you stay wild, that's kind of sad.
Oh, of course.
You know what I mean? If you see like the 35-year-old knucklehead, kind of sad.
Yeah,
so
well,
you got to change, and you have to think, you know, introspectively and outward, and all of these things.
So, are there anything happened in your life that made you turn, or any point in your life that made you turn and realize that the world is just a little bit more serious than the Beastie Boys, so to speak, or what they were about back in those days? Like, what was that turning point that made you realize that, you know, I have to kind of make a turnaround here?
You know, I don't know if it was one specific thing. I mean, maybe it was, you know, the Gulf War. Maybe it was just being, you know, open to, it doesn't happen one day, but, you know, when you start seeing things in perspective and you start seeing that the world is a bigger place than what you're doing, then things turn around.
Is popular music that's out today gonna inspire your new albums?
Sometime popular, like MTV music?
Yeah.
Rarely. Rarely.
You think it ever did?
Probably. Well, inspired, that's a, you know, an interesting thing, because you can get inspired in a positive way from a negative thing. Do you know what I mean? If you see something, you see a lot of things, you're like, this is terrible, I'm going to do this. Do you know what I mean? So it's inspiring to see things that you don't like sometimes. And it's inspiring just in life when you see racism and sexism and all this stuff, that you can take these bad things and turn them into outwardly positive things.
First I want tear, now war.
reaching a point where we can't turn back. Let's lose the guns and let's lose the bombs. So stop the corporate contributions that they'll build upon.
I'm no media pundit, but I would just say there's definitely been the concept put out there that questioning this war is potentially an unpatriotic thing. And that's one of the things that really compelled me to speak up.
Now don't get us wrong, because we love America, but that's no reason to get hysterical.
None of us feel very comfortable with what Bush is putting forward and the way that Bush is representing the United States.
Well, I'll be sleeping on this beach until I start to snore, because I won't carry guns for an oil war.
For somehow to say that for our own safety or for world peace, we're going to take this action which the vast majority of the world disagrees with. I don't see how in any way that ensures safety. That, more than anything, makes me really scared that that's actually putting us in a position of being unsafe.
I'm not pro-Bush and I'm not pro-Saddam. We need these fools to remain calm.
I just wanted to play devil's advocate for a second, because I think there's a lot of people in this country and in this administration who say it's about the potential of a terrorist attack down the line.
Well, we don't know the facts. The Bush administration is linking Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden, and like, are they really linked? Like, they haven't shown us what the deal is.
I mean, one of the things that democracy or that our society is based on is this idea of innocent until proven guilty. We don't go around locking people up because we suspect that they might commit a crime in the future. I mean, I totally agree also that Iraq should not have weapons of mass destruction. But I also think the United States shouldn't have weapons of mass destruction. I think it's very difficult for us to say that certain countries in the world are not responsible enough to use these weapons or have these weapons, but the other countries in the world are responsible enough to use these weapons.
Now, you guys are all world travelers. Are you surprised by the amount of anti-American sentiment that's sort of been booming around the globe?
If the Bush administration feels like it's okay to override the UN, then you can understand why people would be upset with the U.S. and with the Bush administration.
That's why I think it's important in terms of us speaking out and us putting this track out, is that this is not the way that all Americans feel. It's important to let the rest of the world know that.
Beast of the Middle East, beast of Islam.
So then, like, our record, whatever, now, like, for me, like, this album is really, like, New York City like, everything's happened in New York City since, like, 2002 or 2001 or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that it's the last, like, 2 or 3 years, like, all of us living here and what that represents.
And having fun in troubled times.
That's a good way to put it, I think, because, yeah, it's
Sounds
definitely...
like you're having a lot of fun on this record.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, things are more crazy in the world than they've been in a long time, and so, you know, some of the record is like a reflection of that, but I think a big part of it is definitely what Adam just said, like kind of doing our best to just kind of live life too and have a good time in the midst of the, you know, insanity. I think that because when we started working on the record was much closer to 9/11 and you know, Bush kind of more recently having just gotten into office, I think that I think we did more of the serious stuff, I think, early on, and then I think we started sort of like loosening up and having more fun with it as it went along.
You know, you have to reflect on things, and yeah, we have to speak on things, but you basically have to find a way to have a good time, to enjoy life, and to live life as well. That's just part of our reality being right here.
I think we were all downtown.
Yeah, we were all
not far away, all in our houses. I think people in New York totally changed at the time. The day after September 11th was like a different world, like in New York. I think for one thing, there's been this like tension between police and civilians a lot of times, like in general, and that tension like disappeared. Suddenly everybody was on the same side or whatever, and we're looking to police almost more in this constructive way, I think, and that made the police let down their guard a bit more and be much more constructive with people. People were out like helping each other. I mean, I think immediately like there was this very positive feeling in the city, I think, where people were really just looking out and trying to help each other. And then And then we started hearing these more like news reports about people in other parts of the country where there was this like racial violence against people of Middle Eastern backgrounds. And I think we were pretty surprised by that.
I love living in America. I do. I really do. I love America for what it could be, what it's, you know. There's freedoms in America that we have that people would not even think of, that they would even have those. They would think of those freedoms, but they would never think that they would have those freedoms. And it sounds silly to say, but for me personally, I love it here. I love it here. And there's a lot. It needs a lot of work. It needs a lot of work.
I was about to say, I agree,
you know?
but there's a lot of things that could be fixed and be better too.
And it doesn't have to be that hard. There's a few things that we all can do to make it better.
All right, big news of the week and stuff too. I know you guys are obviously, you know, you guys have been more political over the past decade. Osama bin Laden being captured and killed. What are you guys' thought process? You guys did the 5 boroughs things, all that. Is it because I was watching CNN this morning and they were talking about how it's kind of weird to. I mean, obviously it's good that he's not going to be running Al Qaeda anymore, but it's still weird to be celebrating and cheering for somebody's death.
Right.
What's your guys' kind of thought process on this whole?
The whole thing is depressing. The whole thing is totally sad, totally depressing. You know, thousands of people, a couple thousand people were killed in our neighborhood where we live, and then the person that claimed responsibility for it was killed, and it's just all this killing and death and war and trillions being spent on killing and death and war, and it's just ultimately it's just very sad.
Yeah, no, I totally agree and stuff. What do you think this country, like, you know, the reaction? I was actually on a plane coming back and they made a special bulletin on a cross-country flight and people started cheering and stuff, and it's just an odd thing, right? Like,
well, I understand whatever people want justice, and I get that.
Absolutely.
But I think it's just an important thing just to show the world, it's like, okay, the way, like Adam said, like we had this tragedy literally in our own backyard, like where we live in New York City, really close to where, you know, we live in, but the idea is you want to set an example of, okay, you know, why we love being Americans and why we love America is because of these ideals and maintaining those, whatever.
You guys have taken personal time to real causes, whether it's been to talk about the Tibet stuff, or even I remember, and this is years ago, when you guys took the time to speak about how Islam was being portrayed as, you know, terrorists and stuff. You guys have always made it a point to like use your art and stuff and gifts.
Not always.
Well, sometimes. Well, yes, not always.
Yeah.
But you guys have often used that, and not many artists do that. What did it, and for you guys, what does that mean to you guys to be able to make your points and you know?
I think it's kind of like a natural progress you see with people. Like, first, you know, you get on and you're just excited to, like, all right, you know, you get
happy to have a mic.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You're happy to have the mic, to have the platform that doing what you love doing. All of a sudden, you're getting paid to do it. You know what I mean, that's a beautiful big thing. Well, but then after a certain point, it's kind of like you see certain things going on. It's like, well, imagine if I could kind of use that same thing and be a service to a couple of things, something going on here or something going on there. Hopefully not in a goofy way, but just, you know, being a service to it.
Yeah, but I think it's a great example, because I just personally don't think a lot of artists take that time to, when they do reach that platform, to look at the real cause and stuff. And I just think that you guys have set a great example outside of not just in music, but for artists in general to follow and care about things more than just themselves. So I just want to say that that's really awesome.
We're trying to give a positive message to kids.
Bottom line is, you know, all we can do is act in a manner that we think, you know, is an appropriate way to act.
I thank everyone for your patience and letting me speak my mind on that.
I wish I was more like them.
Yeah, me too.